So thank you very much everybody for joining me. I am here today to show you how to make a very classical dish, salmon niçoise. It's a very versatile dish, as you can have it for lunch and you can have it for dinner. And it's really simple, and I am just going to show you how I would like to present it. So first things first, I have my oven on 140 because the aim is I'm going to make a confit potato using a very fresh, nice potato, a good size one, and it's not waxy potato, so it's a cloudy potato. Some garlic, a little bit of lemon, and I've also got a little bit of thyme for our confit. Okay, so the idea of cooking in general is you start with your longest jobs and get them going as quick as possible. Right, so the idea is I'm going to top and tail the potato and go side to side. So we've got something that looks a little bit like this. So I also have a cutter, which I'm using here, which I'm going to try to round the potato. So you have to bear with me for 1 second because I've got a very unconventional way of doing this, because obviously in lockdown we're all cooking from home. So I'm going to use a rolling pin to cut the actual fondant potato. So we remove the... So what we're going to do here is just remove the excess until we have a nice shaped potato. But the idea also is we can trim using our knife, and so we've got a cylinder sort of shape. So I hope everyone can see me. This is a tiny bit awkward in my small kitchen at home. So we have something like this. You can do this however you like. You can cut them small, you can chip them, you can boil new potatoes. This is just the way that I would like to do it today for you guys. So we place in our pan, and I've just bought some mid-range olive oil, quite cheap, from your supplier, or your local shop, as they are everywhere. And essentially, I'm just going to pour all of it over our potato here. And then I'm going to add our thyme, some crushed garlic, I'm going to, for me personally, I'm going to put the rind of lemon in. I find it can be very floral and adds very well to the flavour of the potato and the actual confit oil. So I'm not going to worry about getting rid of the pith. I'm literally just going to chuck this in. Okay, like so. And then I'm going to cover some tin foil. I'm going to cover my pan nice and tight and place in the face of our oven for about 2 hours on 140 degrees. Okay, so my oven is already preheated, ready to go, and in we go. And our timer will be 2 hours. So while we focus on this, I've got a pan of boiling water, and 2 pans of boiling water, sorry, and these are for my green beans and for my eggs. My next job is simply just to top and tail and wash our veg. So these have already been pre-washed by myself. It's always essential that you wash anything that comes from the farm, like mushrooms, green beans, because of the bits of soil and everything like that. So it's never good to have grit. So I pre-washed these, and then what I'm going to do is simply just top and tail them. It's more so for presentation, and no one likes to be chewing on the hard tops and ends. So with our green beans, which are prepped there, by myself. So the idea is I'm going to season the water. I find when you season the water, the finished product has a good amount of seasoning through it. And the idea is I'm literally just going to blanch these for a minute and a half, 2 minutes, just to pre-cook it. It brings out the flavour, and yeah, it's a lot easier for later on. So that goes in for 2 minutes. Then we've got our eggs. So I've just used I've just used what you can find from your local supermarket. You get some good range eggs from your local farms, you get farm shops, and yeah. So basically, what I'm going to do with these is just boil them for 6 minutes. And while we are waiting for those, what we'll do now is we'll just move on to a little bit of prep for our plates. So what I would like to do is I'm basically going to put aside some things for a garnish. So later on when we come to plate the dish, we're going to have a few garnish options, which hopefully will all work really well. And yeah, it looks very lovely. So I've got some tomatoes. All I'm essentially doing with the tomatoes is taking the bottom off and then cutting about 3/4 of the way up, so we have a tomato like that. So I'm going to do 3 of these for later. Like I said, you can do any sort of range of fruit, veg, or anything you want into your actual salads. So you can do it, for instance, you can use a different variety of tomato, you can do all sorts really. So that's our top and tails, our ends, and just another bit of garnish as well. So I'm going to take a few of our olives. So I've got 150 grams of black olives here. My idea is I'm going to make a tapenade, which is something a little bit different that you don't really see on a Niçoise salad. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to half these. You, like I said, you can do whatever you like to do with these. Okay, so while we're waiting for the confit potato, I'm just going to quickly make a little garlic mayonnaise or a little garlic aioli to go with our Niçoise dish later for plating. So all I'm literally going to do is just chop it down so it's almost like a puree. This does take a little bit of time. Basically, the more you chop it out, the less lumps you have in your mayonnaise. So it's a very nice set of knives that my partner bought me. Nice wished off knife. So an aioli, yet again, a fresh mayonnaise is probably one of the simplest things that you could probably ever make. And it literally contains just egg yolk, mustard, lemon, and oil. And that is literally it. And any person at home can make this. It's just so simple. It's over here. I'm just going to put the garlic in there. And what I'm going to do is just crack an egg and keep the egg yolk aside. The egg yolk goes in there. Okay, so normally when you make a mayonnaise, you would classically use Dijon mustard or a really light mustard because you're only really just flavouring it. So I'm going to put a small amount of what I have, which is French. And what I'm going to do is just basically give this a mix. Add some lemon juice, a little bit of salt and pepper. Okie dokie. Okay, so the idea is basically mix this up, incorporate all of the flavour in there, and then I am very gradually going to add oil until it sort of slightly thickens. So this is very difficult, having to pour the oil and do the whisking at the same time. Normally you can use a machine at home like a Robo, or if you've got a Kenwood mixer at home or anything like that, that's perfectly fine and acceptable. So the reason for the colour is because of the French mustard that I've added to it. That's the only reason. Otherwise this would be lovely and light and the aioli sort of gradually thickened now. And it's just basically all you're doing is you're emulsifying the egg yolk, the garlic, the lemon and the oil. The sort of citrus from the lemon will help bind the oil and the egg together until you've got a real nice thick sort of looking mayonnaise aioli. So all I would do personally is just to check for seasoning, you know, or for your own specific tastes. So you can add parmesan. Quite that's lovely. It's nice and light, it's got like a real richness about it, and that's what we're going to do now is just put aside and leave there for a second. So basically, like I was saying to you earlier, the idea, I'm basically going to make a little tapenade. Okay, and yeah, again, a tapenade's basic ingredients is olives, anchovies, garlic, a little bit of olive oil, a bit of seasoning. Just be very, very wary of adding too much salt because olives are naturally a little bit salty because they're kept in brine anyway. So I'm adding to about 120 grams of black olives. I'm adding 4 anchovy fillets, just simple 4 anchovy fillets, a bulb of garlic, okay, and a nice squeeze of lemon juice. Okay. And then you have to excuse the sound because I'm just going to process this with the good old faithful hand blender. And that's everything. So this is what you're essentially looking at. It's just basically like an olive puree or a very coarse olive puree, which yet again, I'm just going to taste for seasoning just to make sure. So the idea, like I said, is it's like almost like a pate, essentially, a very coarse, wet pate. So I'm just going to taste this now. So what I'm really looking for is balance between the olive and the anchovy and a little bit of garlic. And if it's too much of, like, for instance, if it's too garlicky, I add a little bit of lemon. Or if it's too olivey, I'd add a little bit more of another ingredient to try and sort that balance out, okay? So what we essentially have here is another garnish for our Niçoise salad, okay? And that's just a very basic course of tapenade. Now, all we have to do is essentially just wait for our potato. Now the potato is cooked and cooled, we have it over here, deliciousness all in that one little potato. We've kept aside the oil because it's really good for dressings, and it's not like, you don't really want to waste it really. It's really floral, really lovely, and it's packed full of flavour, ideal for salads and all. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start cooking everything before I assemble the dish. What I'm basically going to start to do now, I'm going to treat this like a nice, really nice roasty potato. So I'm going to get a nice little bit of seasoning. And get a little bit of oil in the pan. So be careful, this is an oven proof pan. So get the oil going and get my potato. So I'm going to start whacking my heat up a little bit now. What I'm after is just a little bit of colour on the potato before I whack it in the oven. And while I'm waiting for that to sort of go, then I can sort of season the fish. Yeah, again, a little bit moderately on the salt and pepper. You can always add to seasoning afterwards if you want to. Okay. So I'm going to place the fish in skin side down, and sort of away to you because you don't really want any unwarranted splash back onto your arms or your chest or anything. So if you do hear a 2-year-old in the background, that's just my daughter. Baby.
Or a breadstick.
Okay. So basically, this is exactly what's happening now. Everything else, as you can see, is pretty much ready for my garnish. Okay, so child is subdued. We're just going to have to take a little look at our potato a minute. Obviously, it's not ideal to use your fingers, but as you can see now, there's a little bit of coloration on this. I've turned it down to a lower heat, so it sort of starts cooking all the way through. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn my potato over. Okay. And I am going to place this pan in the oven for about 5-6 minutes, I would say. And obviously salmon's a fish that you can serve slightly rarer, which is completely fine. Right, so in the next step, I just want to start looking at warming a little bit of a garnish up. So I've got some tomatoes which I prepared earlier, and some olives. And basically I'm just going to season the tomatoes with a little bit of salt and pepper. Okay, and I'm just literally going to warm them through under the grill. So the fish has had about 5 minutes, 6 minutes now. So I'm going to bring it out and basically have a little squeeze and a little check of my fish. It's lovely. So I'm just going to turn that over now. So what I'm going to do now is I just want to finish the fish really. I'm just going to take some of my beautiful batali and place it in the pan a little bit. So I'm going to turn the heat on just to keep the butter going, really. Okay. Never tried batali with this before. Okay, so I'm just really going to try and pour the butter over. Same as everything really. Actually, I might take the taste of that now. I'm just going to place it on my slot. What I want to do here now is I'm just basically going to add a little bit of citrus. With most fish, you finish it off with a little bit of fish and lemon. Okay. Okay, so I just want to nappe the fish over. I'm just hydrating it. Look at that, lovely. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn the heat completely off. And I'm going to, same as the fish, place over here. And while the butter and oil's hot, I'm basically going to grab my green beans and just put my green beans in with a few of the capers. Just warm them through slightly really. It's just bringing it back up to temperature. Okay. So a little bit of salt and pepper. And there's my tomatoes and olives that I did earlier. Got my nice little comfy potato. I'm just going to bring it over into the corner here. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to place my tomatoes sporadically just over the dish. And they are piping hot, as I haven't got the resistance that I had before. I'm just going to add a few dots of the nice aioli we made earlier. Let's put one there. Just sporadically, just randomly. I'm going to place a nice runny, really runny, squeezy, yolky egg. So, next step now, I need to grab a few of my green beans. And here again, just randomly place them. Just around like so. Same with my olives next. Just almost like putting them under the grill, kind of dehydrates them really. Just releasing a little bit of texture into the dish. Right. And then, so next step, just wanted to find a little bit of leaf really. Fortunately, I couldn't get hold of any baby gem at the moment. Try and make a little bit more nicey. And then what I want to do, just my salmon, something like this. You can do whatever you like really, play it however you like. And then what I'm doing is I'm just doing a quick quenelle of my olive tapenade. You don't need too much of it. It's quite a potent component. And then basically, with the leftover butter and capers in the pan, I'm just gonna sort of dress the plate with it. And this is just my version, my take on a classical Niçoise salad. Obviously you can do it, anyone else can do it the way they want to do it. You know, it's just my take. Okay, and there's your warm butter and capers. And that's it everyone. And that is my take on a classical Niçoise salad.